It is Y105, Dubuque's #1 hit music station. I'm Steve Pulaski. Big fan of my next guest right here. He's a documentarian responsible for some of the genre's most impactful works over the last couple decades. He was one of the men behind Paradise Lost, the trilogy of documentaries revolving around the West Memphis Three. He directed the Netflix Ted Bundy docuseries Conversations with the Killer, and later the popular movie starring Zac Efron. His new series, Cold Case, Who Killed JonBenét Ramsey, drops on Netflix on Monday, November 25th. He is director Joe Berlinger. Joe, how are you today?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Everyone knows at least the basic gist of the tragic murder of JonBenét Ramsey. What does this new series of yours examine?
Well, I think the basic gist, unfortunately for many people, is isn't that the case where the parents killed their daughter because they put her in beauty pageants and they were weird? That is the exact opposite of the truth. And so I wanted to take a look at this case again because with advances in DNA technology, we think we can solve the crime. And the Ramseys have been pushing for this for years. But the Boulder Police Department continues to just kind of sit on this and not do what they're supposed to do. But we think the case can be solved through new DNA evidence. And that's why I did the show.
What did you learn about the Ramsey family? Anything eye-opening when making this project?
Well, I just the degree to which they were brutalized by responsible media at the time and by, just a myopic police force that literally fed false stories and false information to the press that was only too willing to run with these stories about them to create the impression that the Ramseys were guilty. And if you look at the evidence, that's just kind of crazy. And today, people still believe that. I've been at parties where people say, "Hey, Joe, what are you working on?" And I say the Ramsey case, and they say, "Oh, isn't that the case where the parents, killed their 6-year-old daughter?" And it's just, I can't think of another family that's been so brutalized by both the media and the police handling their case.
Do you think the series gives an answer or maybe a little bit of more of a clue to the question the title asks?
Unfortunately, it is a cold case. We do postulate some theories. This is not trial by television where we're pointing a finger at a specific perpetrator. But there's a bunch of people who have been ruled out as suspects who look much better as the suspect than the Ramseys ever could if you actually look at the evidence. And they were ruled out because of faulty DNA samples. So everyone needs to be looked at again. The series does not point a finger at any one particular person, but it certainly points a finger at the people responsible for the original investigation.
That new series, Cold Case, Who Killed JonBenét Ramsey, drops on Netflix on Monday, November 25th. Again, he's director Joe Berlinger. A few more questions with you, Joe. Not many people tackle both documentaries and narrative films alike. You've done both. What do you enjoy about making movies with a script, actors, etc.? What's that like for you?
Well, I love doing both. Of course, I've mainly done documentaries. Every once in a while, they give me the keys to the kingdom and let me do a scripted movie. It's a very different process. A documentary is an act of discovery. You don't have a preconceived idea of what you want to do, and with a scripted film, you better have a pretty good idea of what you want to do going into it, and make everything conform to that idea. With a good investigative documentary, you have to keep an open mind and go where the story goes. And with a scripted film, you better have a good sense of the story you want to tell before you start rolling camera,
When was the last time you saw Damien Eccles, Jesse Misskelley, or Jason Baldwin? Do you keep in touch with them?
I'm in regular touch with Damien. I haven't seen him in a while, but we're in regular touch, much less so with Jason Baldwin. He has, unfortunately, some resentments towards the people who helped him. It's a long story, so I haven't talked to him in a while. And honestly, Jesse kind of went back to Arkansas and just went off the grid. And, a lot of people have not heard from him in a long while. But Damien and I stay very much in touch, along with his wife, Lori Davis.
It's hard to believe your collaborative partner and friend Bruce Sinofsky has been gone for almost 10 years. My heart broke when the news of his passing was released. You obviously knew him very well. How should people remember Bruce?
Great question. Yeah, we're coming up in February on the 10th anniversary. It just boggles my mind. He was an amazing human being, great humanist. When I first started in this business, I was a little shy, kind of hid behind him as he knocked on doors and won people over. I learned a lot about that process, which is so important from Bruce. He was just a great human being. He's dearly missed, went way too young.
What was Bruce's favorite Metallica song?
Oh, good question. Probably like mine, Sanitarium, which we used for the opening title sequence of Paradise Lost.
I also asked this question as a fan, Joe, just an FYI. What attracted you to make Book of Shadows, the first Blair Witch sequel?
Who knows? Sometimes we make mistakes in life, and I would say that.
No.
The truth is that movie, the original vision for that movie, kind of got bastardized and put into a blender at the 12th hour by the studio, who lost its faith in my original vision. So the movie that was released was not the movie that I was intending. But interestingly, that film, I believe, has gotten a whole new generation of fans. It's really done better in the last decade than it did in the first decade, and that's because I think the movie very smartly predicted. And the original theme of the film was about the dangers of blurring the lines between entertainment and news, because that movie was marketed as a real documentary. And I thought that was a disturbing development in the history of media, that people would celebrate a hoax. Little did I know, as I was commenting on that, where we would be today in the media landscape, where we have, half the country believes the exact opposite of the truth on every issue as the other half of the country. I mean, we are a very divided nation, and not just divided about normal things. I mean, literally, people walk around with a different view of reality on so many issues. COVID, did Trump try to steal the election? You name the issue. I'm not taking any sides here, but you name the issue, and we know that people believe the exact opposite of what their neighbors believe. And that's because news has turned into opinion journalism. You watch MSNBC and Fox at night, and you flip between the channels, and I do it routinely because it just boggles my mind just how opposite the perspectives are. And somewhere along the line, the truth has become blurry, and all we do is, believe in opinion journalism. And that was the theme of Blair Witch 2, which I think has, at the time, it was probably too smart. Like, people just wanted a horror movie franchise, and they didn't want some meditation on the dangers of blurring the line between fiction and reality. So I think the fans rejected the movie. But I think a decade or two later, there's a whole new audience for the film. And they seem to be embracing it. So it was a strange journey, that film, I will tell you.
Yeah, it was easy to dismiss that movie, I think, when it was first released, because it was nothing like the original. You didn't want to do like another found footage movie or kind of remake the original in that way, too. I think it's kind of gone on to be a little bit like Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, where, in the moment, it was viewed as just a complete pivot. But watching it now, I've seen it like 3 times. I think it's very smart. I think it's a very smart movie. I think it's well done, and I think it deserves more evaluation than it's given. So I wanted to ask you about that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Is there a movie or series that you've been wanting to make for years but haven't for one reason or another?
There's a movie, I've been working on a film about a guy named Eddie Bunker. He wrote a book called Education of a Felon. He's, a real guy who had a life in crime and then became a writer. Fascinating life story. The book is called Education of a Felon. I've owned the rights to the book for 20 years, and it's just one of those projects where I just can't seem to get anyone to pay for it. So maybe one day I'll pay for it myself.
He's documentarian Joe Berlinger. That new series, Cold Case, Who Killed JonBenét Ramsey, drops on Netflix on Monday. Joe, you're wonderful. I love your work. I want to give you the final word, though, to promote Cold Case or anything else. Where can people find you? The floor is yours, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if people tune in starting on Monday on Netflix to see Cold Case, I think they'll have their eyes opened. And the more people watch it that first week, maybe I'll pop into the top 10, which is always nice on Netflix. So tune in on it's the perfect pre-Thanksgiving binge.
Joe, keep crushing the documentary game. I'll be watching, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving, you and your family.
Thanks, man. Same to you. Appreciate it.